Sarah, can we start by talking a little bit about the challenges of playing Maria? Obviously, to some extent through her grief, she's already kind of on the other side of that door.
Yeah.
As an actress, how do you go so quickly to that place of grief and loss and sort of inhabit that and still keep her accessible?
I mean, a big part of it for me with Maria was being away from my children. It's a long story, but my son was only 6 months old when I left for 10 weeks to shoot in India, and it was a really agonizing decision. I really thought the script was something special. There were some other reasons that were involved as well, and you know, leaving behind a baby that you had to wean a year before you planned on it, like, there were a lot of feelings of not just loss, but I think sharing with Maria a sense of like, I've done the wrong thing as a mom. And you know, part of why I wanted to play this part and to look at it is that, you know, I lost somebody very close to me when I was 19, and grief is just a really fascinating emotion to me. The way it's nonlinear, the way you can talk to somebody whose father died 25 years ago, and on some day they'll just be able to tell you the story, it's no problem, and on other days, for no reason, they're just in floods as though he died yesterday. And so I think grief and madness are really, really close to each other, and I think Maria spends a lot of this movie out of her mind. And yeah, that was just something that I had really wanted to look into. I'd never seen it done this way.
Yeah, and you play that grief as the force that it is, you know, as almost a kind of the drive behind everything she does. There's such a sense of kind of predestiny in the film. I wonder what impact the setting had on you as well. The Indian setting is so unusual for horror.
Yeah.
I wonder to what extent the spirituality and the sense that the location brought to things affected the way that you then plotted Maria's journey.
Well, you know, Johannes talks quite a bit about how India, or at least Mumbai, is this sort of mad, colorful, wonderful, chaotic mess that flows perfectly for the people who live there. But when you come in from the United States to the United Kingdom with a sense of like, this is what organization is, this is how a film set runs, it just throws the whole thing to the wind, which is great when you're feeling strong and on it and you know what you're doing. But when things start to fall off, then the whole place starts to feel sinister and weird and like it's against you. And I think that's what he captured in the film.
And there's that wonderful polarising moment with you where it has been this lovely experience, and then the language barrier and suddenly jumps in the second the drowning happens. There's suddenly this awful switch that everything that's been exotic and wonderful is suddenly the barrier to her being understood. Can we speak a little about female-driven film? You obviously, your character, Peaky, and to some extent even Murtu are these very female, strong energies at the heart of the film. How rare is that for you?
Well, it's getting less rare, thanks to a lot of hard work on behalf of, you know, from a lot of women. And I think the faces of it tend to be sort of Jennifer Lawrence and Charlize Theron, but, you know, there are also a huge number of women executives working really hard behind the scenes and trying to find women writers, women directors. Things are getting better, but, you know, I mean, let's be honest, Hollywood is a place where women are routinely paid 60 cents on the dollar to men, regardless of whether they have a leading or supporting role. We have to fight really, really hard to convince people that movies starring women can be made and can be profitable, even though if you look at the numbers, there's just overwhelming evidence. You know, I mean, maybe after Star Wars, people will finally get rid of that, like, Daisy Ridley leads a movie and it's the #1 movie in the world for, like, 7 years. You know what I mean? Like, we can start to dispel this kind of a thing. But, you know, it's a project with gender equity that we're not going to achieve without the cooperation of men. And I think it's extraordinary that Johannes wrote and directed a film that has such a powerful female energy to it.
Absolutely.
And where women are being women.
And potentially leaves the door open for Maria to come back, because there's a sense, although she does have somewhat of a full stop, there is a potential there. Do you feel like her story is finished for you?
I don't know. I don't think that way. You know, when it comes to a movie, I do the beginning, middle, and end of the movie, and there it is. If there's a future for her, that's Johannes's problem, not mine. And we'll burn that bridge once we're on it.
We're intrigued to see what happens next. Thanks so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys! Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey